Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Nick Chubb had to be carted off the field at the beginning of the second quarter in this game between the Browns and Steelers for what they're calling a knee injury right now. We're not sure the severity, but it did not look good at all as the Browns are ahead 11-10 against the Steelers. Pittsburgh just nailed a field goal, so it's a close one, but the big story is Nick Chubb. And for more reaction to this devastating news for the Browns, we bring in CBS Sports fantasy writer Jamie Eisenberg. And Jamie, I'll just be very frank. What does this mean for the Browns' backfield?
You know, it's potentially terrible, Chris. You know, he's one of the best in the game, obviously, you know, a guy that could lead the league in rushing. And, you know, you saw the expanded role in the passing game in week 1. They weren't very deep at this position, you know, so now it all falls on Jerome Ford if this is going to, you know, end up being what it could be, where it's, you know, multiple week absence. And, you know, frustrating situation, obviously, for Cleveland, but obviously for fantasy managers who are taking Nick Chubb in the first round. You know, that's clearly secondary to, you know, anything what Nick Chubb is dealing with. So we hope he's okay, and we hope he's able to, you know, overcome this. But this is a guy that had a very serious knee injury in that same knee in 2015. So, you know, you just hope that it's just going to be one of those things where it gets some rest, and the injury looks worse than it actually is. But when you see the situation, you know, I know we didn't get a chance to see a lot of the replays, but you're certainly seeing it on Twitter or on X, whatever they're calling it now. But just devastating to see the way that his knee bent, and, you know, you just got to hope that it's going to be one of those things where, you know, he's not out for the season and potentially, you know, a career damaging type of scenario for his knee and for his, you know, rest of his, you know, career situation being what it is.
Yeah, because he is their offense. Without them, and this is what I'm going to get to, they're really limited as what we've seen from Deshaun Watson so far. Still seeing that rust, right? Not his usual self that we were used to seeing with the Houston Texans. So what does it mean for Deshaun Watson now that he does not have his cowbell in the backfield?
Well, it's obviously more on him. You know, Amari Cooper came into this game less than 100%. And let's give the Steelers defense some credit. You know, they're back to the wall, being 0-1, you know, home game. You know, I think they were going to come out scrappy without Cam Hayward there and missing some pieces on the offense with Deontay Johnson out. So, you know, Deshaun Watson was going to have a little bit of an uphill battle. So it just puts more on him. But, you know, I think in terms of what this means for the Browns backfield, you know, Jerome Ford is somebody that fantasy managers are going to look at and say, okay, I got to go get him because he's the next man up. So he's rostered in 23% of leagues. And then do they go make a move? You know, do they look at a Leonard Fournette? Do they look at a Darrell Henderson? Do they, you know, kick the tires once again on Kareem Hunt, who's clearly familiar with their system and still available as well? But we know that there's a lot of running back injuries. And, you know, in the other Monday night game tonight, Jamal Williams goes down, and we know they're down Alvin Kamara for another game. They may go look at a running back also. Saquon Barkley being out, you know, they may be looking at a running back. So this is going to be a market that could be a little bit, you know, depleted by the time we get to the end of this week, depending on what some of these other teams do. So, you know, the Browns have to find someone to handle that backfield, because as much as they were expecting Deshaun Watson to do more this year, clearly with the contract that they gave him and, you know, expecting him to step up after a full offseason of work and no more suspension, they still want to run the ball and have that presence behind them. So if Chubb is going to miss several weeks, they still have to have some presence back there. But obviously it means more of Deshaun Watson, and can he handle it? He did run for 45 yards last week, so he can help in terms of using his legs. But really it's going to have to be with his arm and making this more of a passing attack if Nick Chubb is not going to be there.
Absolutely, because they got Jerome Ford, you know, who is a solid back, but as Brian Wilson was saying earlier, he ain't no Nick Chubb. He is a dime a dozen.
That's right.
Jamie Eisenberg, thanks so much for the insight.